Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Clifford Smith from the city of St. Petersburg. He is, I don't know the exact title, but he's the Director of Homeless and Veteran Services for the city of St. Pete. The reason that we scheduled this presentation, and thank Clifford for coming, is that I know that I and you as PSTA board members quite often receive customer and citizen comments and complaints directed at you or me related to PSTA, complaining about either transporting or homeless folks at our transit centers or shelters. Lots of comments that PSTA going to a grid system in St. Petersburg and no longer hubbing at Williams Park has somehow increased homeless because the buses moved. We heard it, the folks, some of you who were with me at St. Pete Beach, we heard comments that the transit system somehow provided a way to move homeless people from St. Petersburg to Paso Girl Beach so that they could sleep on the beach. I think that comment was addressed, that we caused that in some way. I do know that, as you all know, I participate in a lot of national transit research panels and things like that. And there was a report that I've already read that was just published by the Transit Cooperative Research Program, called Transit Agency Practices in Interacting with People Who Are Homeless. And I know this is an issue not just in Pinellas County, although I think Clifford's going to show you some numbers that we have a very substantial homeless population here. But it is a situation that happens everywhere with public transportation. And the Cliff Note version of this whole report, the summary was the transit systems that partner with agencies in their community and work together with organizations like the city of St. Petersburg and others that Clifford's going to talk are the ones that better manage this than those that ignore them or do not work with others. So I think what you'll see in the presentation you're about to give is that there's a lot going on, as I think you all know with this, and that PSTA is a willing partner to try to work on this as well. So, Cliff, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. So this is the flicker here. I just wanted to thank you for introducing me. I just wanted to say that PSTA has been a great partner with the city. And one of my duties is responding to citizen and business complaints about the homeless. And frequently when it's a business, it involves, they'll say, and that bench out there, that PSTA bench, people are sleeping on it and they're doing all kinds of nasty things. They're doing drugs and they're doing all this kind of stuff. So I found the most effective way to deal when I get complaints is to go in person and meet with them. I don't like doing it with email, and I don't really think it's effective with written or even phone calls. It's better just to go in person. So when we have anything involving PSTA, I invite James and some of the people from PSTA to join me. And I have to say, it's been amazing. Having you there has made a huge difference. Most recently, in the past couple months, we met with Publix over by University Village. I mean, they originally called the city and said, take it down. We don't want the bus stop there anymore, even though it's one of the busiest bus stops on PSTA routes. I don't know how many people use it every day, but I think hundreds of people use it. And we would not want that to go away. Now, PSTA, even though it's not one of your stops, agreed to go in and clean it and maintain it, even change out the seating to make it better. Publix, for their part, has hired a security guard, and they've added additional security guards to monitor it. So it was something that started out negative that turned out to be very positive. And then most recently, we had a meeting with the Grand Central District about homeless in their area, and they were complaining about the bus stop there. And again, we had people from PSTA, and it made a huge difference. I always invite, depending on the nature of the complaint, of course I go, and then I always invite the police to go with me because they're great. And when citizens and businesses hear how hard we're trying to address the issues in person, it makes a big difference. So today I thought what I would like to do is go over and just talk about our homeless population and some of the major programs and services that we have available for them. And I'm not concentrating so much on St. Petersburg as I am Pinellas County, because it really is a countywide issue. It's not just a St. Pete issue, even though 62% of the homeless are in our beautiful city. So, and the first slide is that that yellow parking meter. We call it the power of change, and we got the idea from the city of Denver, and it's an opportunity to educate the public about, please don't give money to panhandlers. The money is not going for food, it's not going for shelter, it's going for drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. So please, if that's what you want your money to go for, go ahead and give it, but it's not going for food. And here's an opportunity instead, if you want to do something proactive and positive to help our homeless, make a donation here. And currently we're averaging about $150 to $175 a month in donations. So it's not a lot of money, and it's certainly not going to end homelessness, but we do use the money for our street outreach team, and they use it to do things like buy diapers for families, or somebody needs help in getting back home. We call it family reunification. We can use the funds for that. So anyway, it's pretty cool. We've got 12 of them. I'm trying to get our parking department to give me more. Right now they've only given me 12, and we're kind of along Beach Drive in the downtown area, and I would like to expand it out because Central Avenue, I know St. Petersburg is just growing like crazy, and I'd like to add additional ones. And Pat, and please feel free to make comments too.
I just have a question, if there's any way that you can, because I've not seen one of those, I would have put money in it if I had. You know, the pay by parking thing, or whatever you
Yeah.
pay by phone.
Park Mobile.
Park Mobile, thank you. I knew there was a name. But, is there any way for them to have a place where you can just add on
Yeah, thank you.
$1 for?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. We do have that now. We do now have that option,
Really?
and people are using it.
Really?
So I mean, we just, and I need to do a better job of publicizing it. We just added it a couple months ago,
Oh, okay.
but people are doing it when they go to pay for their meter. You can add whatever. So most people add $1. We had one person that added $5. So yeah, it's an option. But really, it's not so much the money as it is the educating. We really don't want people giving money to panhandlers. It just works against everything we're trying to do, and not just in St. Petersburg, but everywhere. And then, so anyway, wanted to go over, just give you an overview of what our homeless population looks like, and please make comments, ask questions. So, this is, once a year we do a count of our homeless population. We call it the point in time count, and we do it for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is HUD, who gives us funding, mandates every community in America that gets HUD funding must do a count of their homeless population at the same time. And that's the last 10 days in January, bless you. So we did ours on January the 28th this year. And when we're doing our count, Chicago, Detroit, LA, New York, we're all doing it at the same time. So you're not getting, the way we used to do it is we did ours in the winter because we have a higher homeless population in the winter. And then the northern cities did it in the summer. So we were double counting a lot of the people. Now we all do it at the same time. We also do it not just because HUD tells us. We also do it because we want to know how many homeless we have. We want to know where they live. We want to know what caused them to become homeless, how long they've been homeless, so we can address those issues. So for this past January, and this is startling when you see this number, but I want to explain it. we counted 6,307 people on one day that were homeless. 6,000 people. We are second only to Miami-Dade in our homeless population. They have a higher, you would think they would, but we have a higher homeless population in Hillsborough, Duval, Broward, Palm Beach, and those are counties that have bigger populations than we do. But we have a significant homeless population. And I want to qualify that number because that includes people that are, we call it couch surfing, doubled up. We include people that when they were arrested and went to jail, they had no address. We include what the school system gives us as homeless families. HUD doesn't consider any of those homeless. So if you subtract all of those out, the number that we counted that HUD considers literally homeless was 2,777. So that's significantly less than that figure. But we use that figure a lot when we're talking to the public because really those people, if they were homeless when they were arrested, I still think they're homeless. If they're sleeping on somebody's porch or sofa, I still think they're homeless. So anyway, that's the number that we're working with. And the demographics are 3/4 of them are males, and that's consistent year after year. Last year it was 72%, this year 73%. It's always 3/4 males and 1/4 female. And 14% veterans. Now, that number is too high. There shouldn't be any there shouldn't be anybody who's homeless, right? But especially veterans. But it's going down a lot. Last year, it was 17%. The year before, it was 21%. And that's mostly due to the efforts. We have a program that St. Vincent de Paul operates called the SSVF, Supportive Services for Veterans Families. And they can provide housing, they can do homeless prevention. So when I'm out on the streets and I'm talking to a homeless person, first thing I ask them is, are you a veteran? And if they say yes, I go, bingo, you're off the street tonight, because they will put you up immediately and they will help you get set up with your rent, all of your deposits, get furniture, get dishes. You have a case manager for like 2 years if any issues come up. It's an amazing program, and we're working towards, President and Michelle Obama started this, the Mayor's Challenge to end veterans homelessness, towards functional zero, which means there will be, and you'll never reach total zero, but functional zero means you've identified every veteran who's homeless, and you've done everything you can to try to get them off the street. There are some, and I know this from personal experience, that, no, leave me alone, I don't want to come up, I'm fine, leave me alone, they won't even talk to you. But we keep going back, we keep offering, but at some point, if they keep turning you down, you've done everything you can at this point. And of course you say, if you ever change your mind, here's my card, I'm going to keep coming back to you. But at some point, we say, we've done everything we can. We're working towards functional zero here in Pinellas County. We're not that far away. I keep hoping that we'll be able to achieve it this year. But that's a really good program. They do a really good job with that. 23% report having mental health issues and 22% substance abuse. And from my experience, it's usually co-occurring. If they have mental health, they also have substance abuse issues. And I actually think those numbers are low. For the people, the chronic, like in St. Petersburg, that have been hanging out at Williams Park. And there, by the way, there's a lot less homeless at Williams Park. And, but that are like down by Unity Park, St. Vincent de Paul, or that are sleeping in the woods somewhere. Most of them have significant mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Most, I would say, well over 50%. But these are the figures that I'm presenting today are what they admit to. So if they say no, I don't have any issues, then that's how it gets counted as no. So where do they live? 62% live in St. Petersburg and 21% in Clearwater. So 83% of our homeless population live in our two largest cities. which kind of makes sense when you think about it. We have, in St. Petersburg, we have the most services. You know, we have St. Vincent de Paul, which is they have a night shelter, a soup kitchen, a grant per diem program for veterans. They have a family shelter. We have a day services program that the city pays for with showers and phones and computers and, you know, bathrooms are big. So we have Beacon House, which is a men's shelter. We have the St. Petersburg Women's Residence, a women's shelter. So we have a number of programs in our city, and it does, to a certain extent, it does attract people. I'm not saying if you build it, they will come, but we in St. Petersburg, we're all about helping people. We try not to criminalize homelessness. We do everything we can to get them connected to services. Sometimes, you know, if they're doing something illegal and they're refusing help, at some point, the police have to get involved. And, but still, even when the police get involved, we still try to get them help. We don't want them to go to jail. It's not an effective way. The Sheriff Galtieri has told us, you know, how much it costs, $126 a day, I think, for someone in jail versus $13 a day at Safe Harbor. So it's way more cost effective to help them than to jail them. And then to get out of jail, they go right back to doing what they were doing anyway, so it's better to try to help them. And then the other cities, there's 3% in Tarpon Springs, 4% in Pinellas Park, and 4% in Largo. So anyway, that's kind of where our homeless population is. Any questions, comments on that?
I got one.
Yes, please.
Years ago, up in when I was living up in New York, they closed down all the shelters for people who are disabled or who had mental health problems, and that's when the homeless population increased in New York incredibly.
Yes.
Is that the same thing here?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We had, you know, we had a lot of the big state mental health hospitals in Florida that pretty much, with the exception of Chattahoochee and I don't even know if any others are even open, but we had a number of them, Arcadia, where we house people that, you know, really they need someone to take care of them. They can't take care of themselves. And the idea was, and I think it was with good intentions, was you really don't need to be in an institution. We're going to let you go back in the community, but we're going to have support. We're going to provide support. We're going to provide housing. We're going to provide case management. Well, they didn't do that. They just closed them and left them out on the street. So now that's why you see a lot of people, you know, that are walking around mumbling to themselves. Those are people who used to be in those programs, used to be in the hospitals, and really, I think they were better off, you know, rather than being vulnerable out on the street. And a lot, you know, I talk to them, and I feel so bad because they get income, they have money, they usually get a SSI or Social Security check, and they get taken advantage of every month, even if they have a payee. I don't know how that happens, but they end up getting robbed, and they get, some of their payees aren't very good. They just give them their money, and then every month, they know, the people on the street know, crime on homeless is rampant, you know, unfortunately, and they get taken advantage of. They would have been so much better off in but they're closed now, so. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't do more or to provide case management and make sure everybody has housing. Nobody should be out on the street. There is no rational reason to do it. And look how much it costs us to you know, they're using the emergency rooms, they're in jail. There was a guy in, this is a true story, there was a guy in Las Vegas. They called him $1 Million Murray, and some of you have heard about him. They did all, you know, he was in and out of the emergency room, he was in and out of jail, you know. They calculated how much they were spending on this guy, homeless guy, you know, chronic alcoholic, $1 million. That's what it cost to do it. He could have been at the penthouse at the Don Cesar for less money than they were spending on $1 Million Murray. We all have our $1 Million Murray. We have them here in our county. We have our own $1 million Murrays. So it's not a cost-effective way to do it. But thanks for bringing that up. That was good. Any other observations?
Just that,
Yeah.
the county has an initiative this year, I know you know about this, that is working with, I think it's 33 people who bounce in and out of jails and hospitals and
Right.
are chronically homeless. It's almost $1 million for these 33 people, but doing intensive case management, trying to get them into some kind of housing, and I think they've, or into some kind of housing and keep them there. But yeah, it's expensive, and I think they've only gotten 22 out of the 33 so far involved in any way, in any services, but these are the high-end users.
And they're tracking everything to see what the success rate is, but I'll be interested to see, but I think it's
Me
a
too, yeah.
great idea.
It's a great pilot.
So I wanted to just talk about some of the, and there's more than this, but I wanted to do kind of the highlights of the homeless initiatives that we have in our county. Well, first off, we have our street outreach teams. St. Petersburg started our team in 2006. And it was so successful that we replicated it throughout the county. There are now 5 teams: St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Pinellas Park, Tarpon Springs, and the unincorporated areas of the county that the sheriff provides the law enforcement part for. And the way the team works is you have a law enforcement police officer teamed with a social worker. We got the idea from the city of Fort Lauderdale. They were doing it. They came up to St. Pete, talked about it, and we've decided to implement it. And it works amazingly well. Having the team of a police officer and a social worker, it works really well. And they're out there right now. They're out there right now in the areas where the homeless are most prevalent, like in St. Petersburg. We have our street outreach team. They're working nights now down by St. Vincent de Paul because we have a whole new initiative with St. Vincent de Paul that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But they're out there, they go up and they keep talking. Sometimes somebody's been out on the street. Some of these people have been on the streets for many years. They keep going up to them every day. Hey man, how's it going? Are you ready to come off the street? And they'll just keep, they never give up. They just keep going out, keep asking, offering to help. We can get anybody off the street immediately. We have, Pinellas, and I'm going to talk about the programs, but we have shelter beds. Pinellas County, for their part, it's a great partnership between the cities and the sheriff and the county. The cities and the sheriff provide the law enforcement piece, like we provide. Officer Rich, and he has a big Chevy Suburban, and when anybody wants out, he throws all their stuff in the back of his Suburban, takes them. And the county pays for the social worker. They have an emergency fund that they can use to help the people, and also overnight beds. And we have overnight beds at Turning Point in St. Petersburg and HEP, Homeless Empowerment Program. Used to be Homeless Emergency Project, now it's Empowerment Program. Both are really, really good programs. So the county and the cities, and it really is a great working partnership. We've been doing this now for a number of years, and every day, sometimes I get discouraged when I see the same people out on the street. But what I have to remember is every day there are people seeking help. The shelters, the Safe Harbor, Pinellas, they're mostly full all the time. So people are taking advantage of it. We have homeless person storage units. You know that there was, I think it was the previous slide. That's City Hall, and those of us that live in St. Pete remember how bad it was, Art?
Oh, yeah.
We had shopping carts, everybody, it was a mess. It was, that's actually a pretty good picture. It's worse than that. So the city decided to pay for storage units for the homeless. So every person who wants it has a big bin they can keep their things in. They don't have to push a shopping cart around with all their stuff in. It makes a huge difference. You rarely see anybody in our city with a shopping cart. Now there's a guy on the Pinellas Trail when I ride my bike. He's got, I don't even know how he pushes this thing. But for the most part, they have disappeared because of that. We do that with St. Vincent de Paul. They have 2 big semi-trailers and they've divided them up into bins. And the city pays for this, to have somebody there to administer it. And if somebody, abandons their property after a certain number of days and they don't come to claim, then we move it to somewhere else and store it, and then eventually it gets destroyed after a certain period of time. But we do everything. We don't want to throw anybody's personal belongings away, but at some point, what are you going to do? So I want to talk about Pinellas Safe Harbor. That's a 450-bed shelter operated by the sheriff. He took the wing, actually used to be a PSTA, right? A facility at one time, the garage. He took his facility, we closed this low security facility, and it was just sitting vacant, and the jail was bursting at the seams for people that really don't need to be in jail, getting arrested for drinking from an open container, public urination, panhandling, all that kind of stuff, and made it as a jail diversion program, and also it's officially a jail diversion program, but also, our outreach teams bring people to them every day, well, Monday through Friday, and their philosophy is, even if they're full at 450, and sometimes they get that high, they will not turn down any of our 5 outreach teams. And they say, if you're wearing a badge, you're in. So they will find room for you, even if they got to cram more people in. Don't tell the fire marshal that, but they never turn anybody away as long as we bring them. And they provide a place to be, meals. Metropolitan Ministries provides the meals, and they're really good meals, and showers. Case management, they don't have enough case managers, but hey, they're doing the best they can do. Pinellas Hope is the other one. The homeless call it Tent City. It's 250 tents, and they've got 75 permanent supportive housing units, and they're really cute efficiency apartments. I wouldn't mind living there. And then they're adding an additional 75. They're going to have 150 of those units. And here's the cool thing, they're doing these. Has anybody seen the Pinellas Hope cottages? Okay, some of you've seen them. Aren't they cute? They've taken shipping containers and they've divided it into 3 units. And they're really, it's hard, I should have brought a picture of it. But they're really cute inside. They have a bed, a little dresser, and an air conditioner, because what it's like. If anybody's gone camping in Florida in the summer, you know how much fun that is. So the goal is to replace the tents with these Pinellas Hope cottages. And when we had Hurricane Hermine a month and a half ago, they lost 2/3 of their tents. Anytime we get a serious storm, the tents get ruined. They got to replace all the tents. So eventually, they're going to replace them all with these Pinellas Hope cottages, which I think is amazing. Now, I wanted to talk about St. Vincent de Paul because that is, in some ways kind of ground zero for St. Petersburg homeless population. They have a soup kitchen, and they don't just serve the homeless. They serve elderly, families, everybody who needs it, and they actually serve good, healthy food. They also have their grant and per diem veterans program. They have a family shelter. They have a night shelter and a day services program. That does attract a lot of people. And the impact on the surrounding neighborhoods has not been real positive. And I spend a lot of my time addressing complaints from the neighborhood association. And hey, they're legitimate complaints too. I had a guy, I opened up my garage door and there was a guy laying right there, and it, startled me. And I work with them every day, and it startled me. So, having somebody sleeping on your porch, So what we're doing now is we just started it this month, is limiting the number of people who can use the shelter and their day services program to 120 people. And they're issued an armband, and they have to agree. If you want to use these services, you have to agree to work with the case manager on a goal plan for achieving housing and self-sufficiency. No longer can you just come here and hang out all day. You got to work with us. So far, and it's only started 2 weeks ago. Yarda, you've probably seen, there's a big difference in that whole neighborhood. So it's really making a big difference. So I'm really encouraged by that. I wanted to talk about the county. The county has, I was thinking Commissioner Welch was here. I wanted to thank him for what, oh, well, Pat's here. Thank you. So the county has their emergency financial assistance program, which helps people with, people who are on the verge of being evicted. They're behind on a utility bill. If they have a legitimate reason why they got behind on their bills, the county's program helps them. We had a motel in St. Petersburg, the Mosley Motel. It was in the newspaper a lot. And there were 110 rooms, and they were full at the time. It got sold and closed. And so we had a little bit of time to get everybody moved out, and we used the county's program. And Pat, without that program, we could not have done it. Thank you. So that's an amazing program. Families, the homeless families, JWB funds a program called the Family Services Initiative. It's kind of the same thing. They can help families with, if they fall behind on their rent, or they need help with utilities, or they need even to do a car repair so they can get to work. And they also have families that are homeless. We put them in shelters. They have shelters at St. Vincent de Paul and the St. Petersburg Free Clinic. And I think, am I correct that RCS is now one of the, I think RCS is one of the other shelters now under the FSI program. So now we have 3. We have 1 in Clearwater and 2 in St. Pete. And then the county, Pat, has the Family Homeless Assistance Program, which also helps families. And I mean, they took a lot of the Mosley families too. So we could not have done this without the help. And by the way, everybody, when it came to October 3rd and the sheriff came and to do the evictions, everybody had a place to go. I mean, I was thinking, oh no, I can just see families sitting on the curb on 34th Street, a little girl with her teddy bear crying, with all the TV cameras were there, and that didn't happen because of the partnership. And it wasn't the city, believe me, it was our partners who stepped up big time to help us. And finally, I just wanted to talk about, we're doing a whole system redesign for our homeless services program. For years and years, ever since I've been in human services, we call it the continuum, continuum of care. Pat, you'll remember this. The way the system was, somebody's homeless, they go in a shelter, they move after like 30 days, 60 days, they go to transitional housing for maybe a year. And then when they're ready for housing, then they get to go in housing. And what we're doing, and HUD and other is pushing communities to do it, is instead of going through this whole thing, put them in housing right away. Right away, go into housing and bring services to them. Everybody's ready for housing. You don't need to graduate through all these different levels. So, but we're just getting that going. So, but I'm encouraged by that. And Pinellas County stepping up big time, $1.5 million additional funding for that. And St. Petersburg, we're doing $400,000 in general fund and $100,000 from CDBG, $500,000 in addition to what our city already funds. So we're close to $1.9 million specifically in funding for homeless programs and services. So St. Pete is stepping up big time, and so is the county, and others at Clearwater, other cities as well. Not just bragging about, but I work for them, they pay my paycheck. And so, this gets me to my last slide. And I don't know if you guys PSTA people want to join in with me on this one, because this is mostly about what you do. But again, I'll just say, to start it off, this is not something that St. Pete can do alone. We have to have partnerships like we learned with the Mosley. We can't do it. It's not just a St. Pete issue or a Clearwater issue. it's all of us working together. And so we have our police that we work, and our police, again, it's not about criminalizing homelessness, it's about getting people help. We have the Homeless Leadership Board, which is, is comprised of elected officials, leaders in the community, human services professionals, and we have a lot of human services organizations that are working together. And recently, I mentioned this at the beginning, we had two issues that involved PSTA in St. Petersburg. One was the Publix, I mentioned that earlier, where they wanted to rip it out, we don't want that bus stop here anymore. And by the time we met with them, PSTA was there, they agreed to, that they saw the value in it, that they did admit a lot of their customers ride the bus to Publix, and they need it. And also, they agreed to hire additional security guards. And it's not perfect, but I go by there a lot, and it's a lot better than it was. And then the Central Avenue Business District, we met with them, and we talked about different options for how we can address, the issues with the bus stops. So, Ross, do you want to talk about the bus shelter design?
No, Ross, I can talk.
Okay, thanks, James.
Actually attended a couple of these.
You good man?
Just really briefly, and thank you, Mr. Smith, James Bradford, Chief Operating Officer. Just to go in a little detail, everything Clifford Smith has said is correct. The partnerships is really kind of where we're able to dig in. As some of these complaints and issues, we see shop owners, we get calls from homeowners asking us to try to relocate bus stops. Benches are seen as in shelters or as providing a place for displaced persons to kind of stay, extended stay. So we have really kind of gotten together with Clifford Smith and his team. The local police department has been great, and we really will go, for example, Publix on 3rd and 3rd, we'll sit, we'll partner up, we'll brainstorm on what the best things to do. Some of the pictures you'll see, those are called semi-seats, and they're just like nice little seats that attach to the bus stops. So there is this idea that the more benches that are out there are kind of providing places, and our bus shelters are providing these longer stays for individuals. So we try to be creative. Again, we try not to criminalize folks that have fallen on hard times. So it's just this kind of combination of pleasing shop and homeowners while also serving our public, while also doing the best we can with folks that are displaced. So, instead of a bench, maybe we add a semi-seat if it's a lower passenger or lower ridership stop. We do have new benches that actually have dividers in them. Maybe you've seen some of those. So maybe, it discourages sleeping and full-on laying out on the bench. It kind of forces, 3 people to sit there. Up at the Grand Central Business District, and we met, and maybe you saw the emails from Punky's Bar and Grill. He hosted a meeting inside of his establishment with the police department, local people part of the Grand Business District. We spoke about what we could do. We would inform them. They were getting some of our customers and people who hang out at Grand Central Terminal, for example, were kind of spreading out along the Central Avenue corridor, and so that's where we get the calls. Henry's team, we've gone out there. We've put up stronger fences around Grand Central Terminal to kind of discourage the foot traffic from crossing in between, in and out of there. We have a great relationship with the police, and then we also have our own security, Allied Barton, around that area. So it's just really a combination of things that we do to just kind of make sure that everybody's happy, everybody's pleased, and it's really always kind of dancing between all these different worlds of yes, we can kind of satisfy everyone. But that's pretty much it. I don't know, down at the bottom, transportation provided, of course, as you know, we do our best to partner up with different agencies, and Ross, if you want to add something to that, to really just make sure that we just kind of keep everybody moving and that they have a way to get to a lot of these facilities and these places that Mr. Smith has mentioned. So we do our best to provide that.
Just as Brad mentioned when he introduced this, it's all about partnerships. And so for years and years, PSTA has been partnering with every agency that Cliff mentioned today, and many more, to ensure that the folks who happen to be homeless and are otherwise transportation disadvantaged are getting those affordable bus passes, so so they can get their vital needs met. And working with those agencies to make sure the bus passes get in the hands of people who need them, and to help understand the needs of the community and to help make sure that they get met in the best way that we can. So I just want to thank Cliff for coming in today and all the great information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Cliff.
Thanks, Cliff.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment.
Chair, but before Cliff leaves, could we just talk a little bit about, in the beginning, we mentioned some of the perceptions of what happened when we moved the buses out of Williams Park. Could we revisit that just a little bit too? And, you know, the purpose of moving the buses out of Williams Park was to go to a grid system. It wasn't necessarily to promise an end to getting rid of homelessness. It was a promise to move diesel buses. So what is your take on what happened with the shifting of where homeless people have moved, where they're staying? I mean, I feel like PSTA is getting unfairly blamed.
Yeah, it's, you know, that was never, and St. Petersburg got accused of, we're trying to drive the homeless out of Williams Park. It was all some sinister thing that we were, with PSTA, but that was never, to change to a grid system, and which, by the way, is I think is working, from my observation, much better. But it did have, you know, there are a lot less homeless people in Williams Park now.
And why do you think that is?
Well, removing the shelters made a big difference. I mean, the shelters that were there, a lot of people that were hanging around in them were not PSTA riders. They were, and there were our police told me this, drug deals were going down in those things. Plus they were ugly, and I think the park looks much prettier without them. And by the way, there's more and more just citizens that are going there at lunchtime using the park, which is a beautiful park. But, okay, so that, people did move. They initially went down to Unity Park on 4th Avenue, down by St. Vincent de Paul. But that, now there's hardly anybody there. We have people that, we are getting more people going. Pinellas Hope in the summertime used to be, because it was so hot and intense, it was only half full. It's full. A lot of people are now accepting help. Safe Harbor is almost full. We do have, I did see, it's kind of like the balloon, you squeeze a balloon. There are more people on the Central Avenue, the complaints, on Central Avenue from like 22nd Street to 34th Street, there are more. Some of the people have gravitated there. But what we're doing is, again, we're not criminalizing homelessness, but if you don't want help, if you're gonna just hang around and smoke spice and stuff, you're not welcome here. We're gonna work with you, we're gonna help you, but you cannot continue to do that. So that's kind of how we're responding to it. We're trying to get everybody connected to services. I thought truthfully that I might hear more complaints from other parts of the city, but I'm really not. Now, there is some homeless that have moved out, where Edward White Hospital used to be off of 9th Avenue. There's those railroad tracks, and I've seen encampments there, but our police and our code enforcement department are working that area. Rich, our outreach officer, is going there. So we're trying to stay on top of it. And sometimes I'll get a complaint. We've gotten some complaints on 16th Street and 9th Avenue. So wherever we hear of issues, we're trying to address it. But I have to say, overall, even though this was not our intention, it actually has been a very positive thing for the city of St. Pete by making, not having Williams Park being the one place where everybody comes to catch another bus. I don't know what you call that, but going to the grid system has made it, I think it's a more efficient system from my perspective. I'm not in your business, but and it's made conditions in our city a lot better. We always have and you're invited November 11th, we have our Veterans Day celebration, 8 o'clock at Williams Park. Please come. And I remember trying to talk, and as the buses are roaring off, no one could even hear what you're saying. So I'm looking forward to our first Veterans Day without that. Thank you for bringing that up. I meant to mention that.
Thank you for your great work, Cliff.
Thank you.
I mean, Bill had another question.
Well, it's more of a comment. Thank you for the update from St. Pete. I picked up a couple of things I want to take back to Clearwater, but Clearwater took a whole lot from St. Pete, because you had Dr. Marva come in and help you, and we brought him in, and they're doing some of the same things. And I know working cooperatively through all the communities has a benefit. And again, in Clearwater, it's just, we're trying to help these folks. And one of the biggest problems is people that are trunk feeders or,
Yeah.
and they're helping to enable people to live without the support. And it's great to hear what St. Pete has done. Thank you so much for that. And thanks to St. Pete for being the leader of the county, along with the Wilkes County and the sheriff. So.
And I just want to give kudos to our city council and mayor. I mean, they always step up, you know, when we say we really need to add this service or we need more funding. Well, since I've been with the city, you have never said no. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, and I just wanted to say that the city's very lucky to have Cliff, because he worked for the county for, I forget how many years,
35.
over 30 years, right? 35 years.
Thank you.
And he's been the homeless advocate for that many years.
Thank you.
And you're not ever allowed to retire. You know, the whole thing would fall apart without you.
No, it would be fine without me. But thank you. I appreciate. I enjoy this. I appreciate the opportunity to come in.
Thanks again.